believe it is Thursday.
Wow, you're actually right. You're never right about that. I was going with the date. Do you know what date it is?
I want to say it's like February 28th.
No. You're lucky that's even a date.
2018.
No, you wish. It is May 4th. Be with you.
Okay.
The internet is full of Star Wars. Are we allowed to say Star Wars?
We are allowed to say Star Wars.
I don't know. I don't want to get sued.
Regardless of how dead Star Wars is.
Shh, they don't know about it.
Okay.
Star Wars is alive in your hearts. You know when Leia?
Leia?
You know when Leia kissed Luke?
Yeah.
I bet that they should have brushed their teeth in a galaxy far, far away. We don't know if they had toothbrushes. I never saw a single toothbrush in that series.
That's a good point. I've never seen anybody in hardly any movie brush their teeth before.
Well, they tend to go over mundane tasks of every day, but toothbrushes are very important, and that is what we're going to talk about today. Also, we didn't introduce ourselves. I'm Danielle.
I'm Ben. This is a podcast.
So, toothbrushes. Funny enough, toothpaste came first, which mostly consisted of something abrasive and something that smelled good. Anything that was abrasive and anything that smelled good.
You just put some soap in there, eh?
Yeah. No. No. An example of some of the things that they would use is ash from ox hooves.
Gross.
Or ground up eggshells.
Gross.
Or pumice.
Okay.
Myrrh, salt, pepper, iris flowers, mint. Mint has been popular with the mouth. They've been together forever.
I prefer spearmint personally.
That is specifically an Egyptian recipe from like 5000 BC. But we're not going to talk about toothpaste because that's kind of probably going to be its own episode. We'd have to cover fluoride and edible toothpaste, and I just don't think that there's going to be enough time to go over all of that. If there is, then we can make it a two-parter and put it at the end.
Yeah, we'll talk about edibles later.
Okay. That would be an interesting idea. So first, the first toothbrush was actually your favorite finger. Your favorite digit, whichever one you got back there the easiest.
I like my left index finger.
Well, then that would have been your toothbrush finger.
Yes.
Your scraping finger. With a combination of the before mentioned ingredients and maybe a cloth of some kind wrapped around your finger to aid with the abrasiveness. The first toothbrush, like a tool, something that wasn't your finger, was in fact a stick. I thought you'd have something funny to say about a stick. Putting a stick in your... I don't know. No? Okay.
It doesn't sound very sanitary.
Well, it's going to be a long time before we find something sanitary. The Babylonians in 3500 BC had chew sticks, or twig brushes. We know about this because they were found in Egyptian tombs and appear in Chinese records from 1600 BC. Another name for them is the siwak or miswak, and they are mentioned in Indian ancient mana laws, Buddhism, the Quran, because they were also associated with religious practices and like ritual purity. It's still recommended to this day to use a chewing stick before prayer. So they are still widely used in the Middle East. They are available in the U.S. as well, like on Amazon, but as you can imagine, they're not incredibly popular or religiously connected. We don't brush our teeth before we pray. Although you probably should brush your teeth before you go to church because that's like the nice thing to do.
Cleanliness is next to holiness.
Yes.
Someone said that, I think.
It was probably Jesus. No, I can't imagine. I don't think that Jesus said that. They were pencil-sized sticks, and they were made of arak tree because they contained an antibacterial and soothing compounds. The arak tree is better known as the toothbrush tree, which I like that.
How'd they know this tree was antibacterial?
I don't know. Well, they didn't. We know that now because we can test them, but they did not know that. They used it because you could chew on it and it would fray out and turn into like a natural brush for scraping your teeth.
That was a lucky choice of tree.
It sure was. And then something wonderful happened in China. Thank you, China, yet again, for giving us your wisdom. In the 7th and 10th century AD, they fashioned like a bamboo or bone into a handle, and then they drilled holes into it, and then they weaved boar hairs for bristles to make a brush.
Yummy.
The boar hairs were very coarse, and that was because they used, they were like cold northern Chinese climate boars.
Bones and pig hair in my mouth.
Well, there wasn't a lot of this was
Clean.
this was a big deal, okay? We were using sticks and our fingers. We finally had something like a tool that we said this is specifically for this job.
I don't know. I think I might rather use my finger. We've all been at a desperate time and just wrapped our t-shirt around our finger and shoved it in there before a quick meeting or job interview. Don't pretend you haven't.
I have not. What? You've done this like in the car?
Never mind then.
Okay. Well, that's not true. I have put toothpaste on my finger and gotten in there, but never. I didn't think. You know what would make this better? A t-shirt.
Yeah, you got to get the abrasion. It's ancient wisdom. You don't know about that?
Well, we have toothpaste that we can just put on our fingers. Also, they have. Never mind. This kind of toothbrush made its way to Europe in the 17th century with the Silk Road merchants. But I think the Europeans thought that the boar bristles were, they were too much for their delicate gums. And they preferred softer alternatives like horsehair.
Not my fancy royal gums.
Yes. They were like, boar bristles, horse. Horse is where it's at.
Horses are regal.
So Napoleon Bonaparte had a horsehair toothbrush, and it was very fancy. It had a metal handle with an N embossed on the end, and I thought I got to see a picture of it. You can look it up too out there. It's fancy for the time. Keep that in mind.
It's pretty fancy. I would like a metal toothbrush with my initials on it.
I have never owned a toothbrush that had my initials on it. Hint, hint.
Wish you did.
Mother's Day's coming up. That would be a great Mother's Day gift.
Okay, I'll keep
Thank you,
that
Mom, for brushing my teeth every day as a small child. Here is your very own toothbrush with your name on it.
I'll keep that in mind for my mom.
So the natural bristles went on until the mid-20th century. That's a long time. Nothing happened for a really long time with toothbrushes. The word toothbrush itself was first recorded in 1690 in Anthony Wood's autobiography, where he mentioned buying a toothbrush. Now, people before him used this word, but he was the first to publish it, so he gets the credit.
It seems kind of cheap, It's like if I put a book out right now that had the word fleek in it, and I know that's an outdated term already. That's kind of the point, everybody used that word to its extent. But if I put it in a book right now, might be the first book to have it written in it, and thus I could be credited for
I don't know if that counts,
that
though, because we publish so much. I mean, anything that you put on social media is kind of you have published that. That's now in public domain.
Until people stop using that website and they delete it all.
Yeah, I guess so. Now, I do want to mention this. We've talked about how long titles were in the past, so I just wanted to bring up the actual name of his autobiography. The Life and Times of Anthony Wood, Antiquary of Oxford, 1632 through 1695, described by himself. That is the whole title. That is on the cover of his book.
I can see why it took off. It's very catchy, very marketable.
If that was an acronym, it would be TLTAWAODH.
It's pretty good. Works on many levels.
So in the 17th and 18th century, a toothbrush was a luxury item, of course, because it was, new and different. They were imported and they were exotic and they were from the Orient, so that was fancy. And the who's who had toothbrushes. But in 1780, we see the first European mass production of modern-ish toothbrushes. designed by William Addis, an Englishman imprisoned for inciting a riot. Poor people were still using a rag and salt and soot and something that smelled nice, so he decided to spend his time in jail creating a toothbrush out of bone and boar bristle and wire, and it wasn't necessarily anything different. I still can't figure out why he was so famous for this. I'm assuming it was because he was the first one to make it within, like, you didn't have to import it. He just had them.
It was a domestic product. It was simple. It was for the common folk.
Yes. When he got out of jail, he started a toothbrushing manufacturing company called Addis Brushworks, which of course made him wealthy. His tagline or his selling point or his ad was buy Addis toothbrushes for service. Like a car. Like, come buy this oil to service your engine. I don't know. I thought that it was a weird way to market your toothbrush for service.
Not very good advertising. Like, hey, you need some service on your mouth? Better get that service done.
After he died in 1808, his son, also William, took over his business, and it stayed in the family until 1996, when Wisdom Toothbrushes took it over. And I think that must be a pretty popular company in England because they produced 70 million toothbrushes per year, and they were the first to produce nylon brushes during World War II. Which was a huge deal, and that is where we're going next.
No more pigs in my mouth.
Well, you're from America, so you're still going to have pigs for a while.
Oh, those dirty Brits and trying to take away my pigs from my mouth.
Well, they didn't. No, those small-minded Americans who refused to let the old ways die.
You look at it your way, I'll look at it mine.
Now, by 1840, countries like England and Germany and France and Japan were manufacturing toothbrushes using local boars and pig bristle toothbrushes, and locally sourced meant cheaper to produce. So they used cattle thigh bone over wood because the handle it rinsed better. Like, you had all of those organic materials with bacteria and over and over and over, and it wasn't
not very sanitary.
No, it really wasn't. But I mean, it was better than your finger, maybe. Now the USA was getting in on it too because the first American dentists recommended using toothbrushes as early as 1779. They were being imported from Europe, but the people barely used them, and it took nearly 80 years for Americans to patent their first toothbrush in 1857. 80 years.
Well, in their defense, new thing bad.
New thing bad. Now this patent was by H.N. Wadsworth, but mass production wasn't after that. Mass production wasn't until 1880. But these toothbrushes were still made out of animal hair and bone, so the bacteria factor was still an issue. One of the first American toothbrush factories was Florence Manufacturing Company, later known as Prophylactic Brush Company, in Massachusetts in 1866. Their spin or hook or whatever you want to call it for their customers was a curved handle and an irregular tufts of bristles. So the bristles in the front were longer than the back to help reach those back molars to really get in there.
Little stubborn toothies.
Mm-hmm. It also featured a hole in the handle, so you could hang it up and it would dry, and you could buy them marked with different numbers on the handles to differentiate different family members' toothbrushes.
I could put it on the same nail that I hang my Farmer's Almanac on.
No. Different. Okay. There are more than one nails. I know that you could... Go find more nails. You can hang as many things up as you want. You can have a toothbrush nail and a poopy paper nail.
You're trying to complicate things.
I'm just glad that they had more than one toothbrush for one family. Could you imagine? This is the family toothbrush. Don't lose it.
They're trying to take the pigs out of my mouth. Now they're trying to make me stop sharing a toothbrush with my dad. What's next?
So... This is when we see the biggest change in toothbrush history since we switched from fingers and rags to animal hair. When DuPont nylon bristles became more commercially available, Prophylactic switched to the Prolone toothbrush. There were some marketing gimmicks featuring cartoons of boars being out of a job thanks to nylon bristles. So they were little comic books, and they had little pigs or boars in talking about, where are all of our jobs? I can't believe we don't. How are we going to feed our children?
So were people sad that the pigs were out of jobs, or were they...
No,
was it satirical?
I think it's the same concept now as Chick-fil-A having a cow saying, eat more chicken.
Okay.
So they were like, what are we going to do? We don't have any jobs. I think it was supposed to be funny.
I see. It's that classic boomer humor.
Yes. If you go look at these comics, it's really classic boomer humor. So bone handles had practically vanished after World War II, and I had mentioned earlier that Americans weren't really on board with the whole toothbrush thing. They were readily available in drugstores, but still only 20% of the population owned one in the 1920s. The 1920s. Do you know, that was not that long ago. Do you know how lucky we are?
I mean, that was 100 years ago.
In the grand scheme of human history, that is not that long ago.
I guess so.
It wasn't until after World War II that we see Americans getting serious about their oral care, their oral hygiene, because the military had their soldiers brushing their teeth at least once a day, and after the war, those men brought those practices home, and it became more of a daily occurrence in civilian life.
From what I heard, that was like the big toothbrush boom in America. They sent our soldiers overseas, and they were like, well, we can treat your wounds, but we can't really treat your toothache, so you're gonna have to take care of your teeth so you can be a good soldier. And then they kind of just got used to it.
Well, yeah. Well, anybody knows that preventative care is the best care. If we can keep something from happening, that is the best way to keep you healthy. Don't get cavities. Just brush your teeth. Because we're not gonna fill them. We might pull your tooth, maybe.
Then you'll be complaining about your bloody mouth. None of that.
But at least your tooth won't hurt, because you won't have it anymore.
Who needs them?
Well, that's why we have wisdom teeth. They come in later. You had all that room because you didn't have teeth. By the 1950s, nearly 80% of brushes had nylon bristles, and that was great, but they were still pretty hard, and they could cut into your gums, which was not ideal. Now, this is why a retired Navy periodontist, Dr. Robert Hudson, designed a softer bristle brush and named it Oral B60.
I know them.
Yep. All he did was use a thinner filament for the tufts, and it created a softer brush. That's all he did. It was just like, these bristles could be thinner, and then they would be more flexible.
A fun fact, you mentioned earlier that DuPont was making nylon bristles for toothbrushes. DuPont is one of those companies, kind of like 3M, who manufactures literally everything. They continue to this day to make nylon filament for toothbrush manufacturers. It's one of their most popular products, next to house wrapping. So if you see a house that is under construction and it's got that white plastic wrapping around it says Tyvek, that is a DuPont product. Fun fact.
Now, I did have some trouble with the first electric toothbrush. There was one story about Tomlinson Mosley patenting it in 1937 in the U.S., and another story about a Swedish Dr. Felipe Guy Wung in 1957. And I know that you can have you can have a patent in one country and another patent in another country, correct?
Yeah.
But I couldn't find a definitive answer on who first invented it. It was an ugly thing, and it plugged into the wall.
I don't want anything that's plugged into the wall to also be in my mouth.
Why is that? Why is that your criteria for what's in your mouth? Oh, if it's attached to this wall, it can't come into my holy place.
I'll put an unwashed t-shirt wrapped around my finger in my mouth well before I put 120 to 240 volts alternating current in my mouth.
Okay, so it has more to do with the electric. Because I was about to say, I could tack the t-shirt to the wall, and then that can be your toothbrush t-shirt in the bathroom hanging up on the wall, and then you just like wrap it around your finger and get in there.
Can we do that? That sounds like a great idea.
We can do anything you want. This is America.
Okay, you called my bluff. I don't want to do that.
What I know for sure about the electric toothbrush was it was originally made for people who lacked fine motor skills and people with braces. So everyone kind of agreed that it caught on in 1960s, and this is when we see the cordless electric toothbrush. There you go. Now it was a chunky thing. It had 2 D-cell batteries, and it looked like a freaking flashlight.
Yeah, D-cell batteries. That's still what they use in big flashlights. Those things weigh like 2 pounds each.
Yeah, you work out your arm and you brush your teeth.
You get that ambidextrous toothbrushing going.
You double fist your toothbrushes?
Yeah, if I'm making those gains, getting shredded while I'm doing it, yeah, buddy. I'm going to curl those toothbrushes.
Okay, so what I'm hearing is that we need to invent a toothbrush that you put like weights in.
Yeah.
So that you can like curl 1, brush, 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 curl 2, brush, brush, brush.
It's just like 2 toothbrushes and some ankle weights that you strap around your wrists. That's the whole kit. And it can be yours for 3 easy payments of $69.99. Call in today.
Don't give them our number.
Inventory's limited.
Okay. Then the 90s. 90s is here, and sonic toothbrushes and ultrasonic. There was a problem with the ones that sat on a charging stand because they were being left charged all the time, and it was bad for the batteries, which we all know don't leave your cell phones charging up all night because they'll hit 100% and you'll overvote. Anyway.
Another fun fact, back in the day, we didn't have lithium-ion batteries, which are still bad to leave plugged in all the time, but they probably use something like nickel metal hydride, I think it's called, and those do really, really bad with charging, but that was like the first rechargeable battery we had, even though they were just super awful.
That should be a lesson. If something is the first of its kind, maybe wait and get the third of its kind.
Yeah, let those iterations come.
Now, I believe don't we have the ones that plug in? Kind of like our cell phone. They don't sit up. They plug in the bottoms, and then you charge them like that. And we also have the ones that are like wireless.
Yep, we've got little wireless charging pads that come with some toothbrushes. You can just set them down. But public service announcement, maybe don't leave anything plugged in all of the time. If it's charging a battery, it's usually not good.
You're going to lose your battery life.
Yeah.
But if it's always plugged in, who cares?
Well, at some point, you're only going to be able to brush your teeth for like 3 seconds at a time, and that might be a little taxing.
That's a great segue into how long you should be brushing your teeth. You should be brushing your teeth for 2 minutes twice a day. 30. Okay, so your mouth is in quadrants, right? So 30 minutes per side of your mouth.
30 minutes?
I mean, 30 seconds per side, per upper, lower, and then left, right.
30 seconds. Okay.
Yeah, 30 seconds. Which is 2 minutes.
Sing the alphabet song twice.
I actually brush my teeth longer than I should because I just keep brushing until all the bubbles are gone. Until I have spit all the bubbles out, and then that's how I know I'm done.
That's far too long. See, my dentist actually it wasn't my dentist, it was my irresponsible mother, God bless her. She always told me to not brush my teeth for too long because it would take the enamel off of my teeth. So I was always kind of scared to brush them for too long. So to this day, what I do is I just brush each side until I feel like it's just clean enough, and then I'm like, yep, good, we're good, no more.
I have never talked to my dentist. I've heard that, and I don't know if that is... I don't know how much you would actually have to brush the enamel off of your teeth, but I have talked to my dentist. I am an aggressive brusher. I know this, and they told me as long as I use a soft toothbrush, that doesn't matter.
If you're using like steel wool on your teeth and you're a hard brusher, maybe don't do that.
Maybe don't use steel wool.
Maybe don't.
Maybe, yeah.
Maybe use copper wool. Maybe some brass wool or sandpaper. Are these good?
No,
are we doing good here?
These are all terrible. This is terrible advice. I do want to mention a little short bit about people buying electric toothbrushes and using them as vibrators because they were embarrassed to go and buy a proper vibrators. They were like, you know what this toothbrush can do? Me.
Oh, yeah, we've all looked it up. Don't pretend you haven't.
I thought that was funny. I thought that was hilarious that people were, because sex is bad. But hey, you know what? If that's your routine, if you brush your teeth and then get other things down,
you're living your best life.
Yeah,
that sounds great.
Whatever it takes to make sure that you brush your teeth every day. Maybe you needed a treat. After you brush your teeth,
set a reward system.
A little extra. Yeah, reward system.
These people would have been thrilled whenever cell phones came out and realized those things vibrate.
Ugh. Just buy a vibrator. That's what they're for.
Nice, smooth
There's no shame here.
PlayStation controllers whenever they released the DualShock with the vibration.
We are getting way too personal. I don't want to know any more stories about you and your PlayStation.
I didn't say it was me. I'm talking about a friend.
Yeah, a friend. Uh-huh.
Yeah. I don't even own a PlayStation.
I also want to mention that teeth, cavities, all of this kind of... I'm not saying that it didn't happen in ye olden times, but it is more prevalent because of our refined sugars. We have horrible diets for our teeth. Things that people ate a long time ago were not nearly as sugary or calorically dense. They ate a lot of vegetables. They ate a lot of meat. Hopefully they had some vitamins. But overall, our diets are way worse for our teeth than...
I can admit I have a problem, but I have to feel that at least some of the blame lies on our dear sweet little Debbie.
Oh, don't blame little Debbie. She's so sweet and little.
If it wasn't
and her name is Debbie. I've never met a sinister Debbie.
No, they're out there. They're hiding under the guise of Debbie.
I thought you said that they were hiding under guys. I was like, what?
Debbie's
Why are they
out
hiding
there.
under guys?
She's hiding under guys. Oh, that Debbie. What a slut. All right. If it wasn't for little Debbie, I wouldn't have this crippling zebra cake problem. That's all I'm saying.
Oh, yeah. Blame the zebra cake dealer and not your own. This is going to get into... we're going to get canceled for saying that addiction is not a disease. Never mind. You're right. Screw little Debbie.
Some gray moral areas here. This is all Debbie's fault. Debbie, you're going down. # Debbie is over party on Twitter. I don't use Twitter.
Yeah, I don't know. Can we just blame Facebook and say that it was Twitter's fault?
Blame Facebook on our bad oral hygiene?
Yeah.
Okay.
Oh, I got a better one. We'll blame TikTok for taking up all of our time so that we can't, find the time to go brush our teeth.
That's good. I like that. Yes. This is why we need to ban TikTok. It's keeping us all from brushing our teeth. And also Little Debbie. So TikTok and Little Debbie, we're coming for you. Watch out.
Are we going to get sued by Little Debbie now?
I don't think so.
Are we even allowed to say Little Debbie?
Yes, we're allowed to say the names of companies that exist. Anything else you want to say? Any more public service announcements? We like those.
You should change your toothbrushes every 3 to 4 months. I change mine every month because, again, I'm an aggressive brusher and my bristles get frayed pretty easy. So I do it once a month. But if you're out there and you haven't changed your toothbrush this year, for the love of God, get a new toothbrush. Also, because we were having a debate about whether you should floss or brush, which one you should do first. I floss first and then I brush, but the dentist said it doesn't matter as long as you're doing both of those things. Also, I had a great trip to the dentist this time. I don't have any cavities. I have an immaculate mouth. Well, that's all. That's all I have. We can cover flossing. I don't even know if there's a history of flossing. There's probably some person with like a piece of horse hair getting in there.
Probably.
I don't know. We can cover that another time. As for now, this is Danielle Allison.
And I am Ben. Don't forget to grab a goose.
Sun your goat.
Reuse your bottles. You didn't forget, did you?
Yeah, something with zippers. What did we talk about with zippers?
Protect your genitals.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I didn't want to say that anyway. And pig, don't take the pig out of my mouth.
Keep a pig in your mouth.
Is that what you said? Yeah, there you go.
Do you know what we're going to talk about next week?
We are going to talk about Pockets? We can talk about Pockets. Pockets is going to be socially charged with some sexist commentary, so maybe think about that.
Don't forget to come back next episode with your hair blue and your nipples freed.
Hashtag free the nipple.
And
actually, I think that feminists aren't really about that anymore. I think they decided that was just a bunch of men on Instagram saying, "Hey, show me your boobs."
oh, well, what's feminism about now?
How about give me as much money as you make? I'm tired of making 73 cents for every dollar that you make.
Don't forget to come back next week, ready to fight the wage gap.
Yeah, and the pocket gap.
Yeah, bring back pockets. What's the deal? We'll see you next week. Thanks for listening.
Now, go! Forgive me, but you look for me.